Invisalign treatment is done. My teeth are really straight. As most of you know, unless you're new to my channel, I took off the month of June, my birthday month. I am now 31 years old and I just needed a little break. In case that is not the reason you stopped by my channel today, if you want to know why I've been MIA and what I've been up to, just watch till then. So you want to move to New York? Okay. I just want to tackle the big questions straight away. Fear. Any type of change is going to breed some type of fear. Being fearful doesn't make you weak or not capable, it just makes you human. It's unknown, it's out of your control, you're not sure what's gonna happen, especially if you're trying to move to a place that's different from where you come from. Originally, I am from North Carolina. I wasn't afraid of moving to New York. I ran here, but if you really want to do this, if this is something that you really want to do, that should not hold you back. If anything, it should motivate you. The fact that you're afraid means that you probably want the change and you need the change. When you push through something, even though you're afraid, it means that you've actually become a little fed up with where you are now, to the point that being a little afraid and making a change is not as scary as staying where you are. Not saying that everyone that moves to New York is moving here for a reason that deep, but personally, that is why I moved here. I needed to get here. I needed to get out of my current situation. You want to move here for a reason, so why not explore it? A lot of people I know were afraid to leave their hometown and stayed in their hometown because they were afraid of making the wrong decision. One of the main things I did to block out fear was to block out all the noise and block out all of the other opinions. How do you do that? You just don't tell anybody. It helps you make the decision based on who you are and what you want to do. I feel like sometimes we allow other people's opinions to get in as a way of self-sabotaging so that we aren't responsible for the decision that we make because we're afraid that we're going to make a mistake. But who cares if you make a mistake? Who cares if you fail? That's life. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. Maybe it's the fear of everyone watching us and the insecurity we get from people watching our moves, but let's be real. We're not all celebrities out here. No one's watching you and checking you that hard, okay? We all have our own lives to worry about. If you're gonna make your decisions based on what anyone else tells you, then your life isn't your own. Regardless, the fear is gonna be there, but it will subside once you start living the life that you've been wanting to live. Housing's a big one. Obviously, where are you gonna live? It's expensive here, okay? New York is expensive. It is one of the biggest cities in the whole world. It's expensive because they know they can be expensive. They know people wanna be here. They know people are traveling from around the world to visit here, to live here. Instead of dwelling on how expensive it is, just make a plan. To get rid of anxiety, you just need a little bit more planning. I don't mean planning to a T, like every detail planned out for you type A people out there. Life rarely goes according to plan. Have flexible plans, plural, like a plan A, B, and C. You kind of have like a general framework of what's gonna happen so you're not completely blindsided and completely clueless when you come out here. I would keep using myself as an example because I did do this, so I kind of know what I'm doing. When I first moved here, I stayed on my friend's couch. Was that ideal? Of course not. Everybody wants their own penthouse in New York, living by Central Park and living it up like they do on Gossip Girl and stuff. And I knew that wasn't gonna be reality, at least not right away. I have plans. And I hit the ground running as soon as I got here and it worked in my favor. You wanna stay with a friend on their couch? Go for it. If that doesn't work, what are you gonna do? I guess I'll sublease somewhere and have roommates so I don't have to be on the lease and I don't have to worry about that. I'll just rent out a room. Okay, that doesn't work out, or it does and you end up hating it. What are you gonna do next? I'll figure it out. A lot of the times what people don't tell you, things will work out. I'm not saying jump into it blindly. When you have passion and drive and you're trying, let the universe continue to help you. Don't block your own blessings. Don't not do something because you're scared it's not gonna work. I get so many DMs about housing and where to find housing. I'm not a realtor, guys. I'm not a realtor. I have a couple of videos on living in New York, living in Brooklyn, how to get housing here, how to get a job here. I am so detailed in there, but I'm not a realtor. I don't find people apartments. Try a couple different things, reach out to people. There's Facebook groups now and Instagram groups. And if you can get a parent to co-sign, you are golden, okay? You are golden. If you cannot get a parent to co-sign, because that was me when I got here, find housing where you can be a roommate and not be on the lease. Also, a lot of different people who live here are looking for sublets because their landlords don't allow sublets, but it doesn't mean that they aren't doing it themselves. Some people had to move back home during the pandemic. Some people are traveling. Some people had to switch jobs and are traveling more with their jobs and they need someone to stay in their apartment. Most of the time you can just do that one-on-one. You don't have to go through the building manager or the landlord or anything. You can just talk to a person. Honestly, so many different ways to get housing here. Even if it's not the ideal housing you want when you get here, it doesn't mean that's going to be your forever situation. I moved so many times when I first moved here. I stayed in so many different places, and now I've been living in this apartment for about 4 years. It's been 4 years. And jobs, because you do need to make money to live in one of the most expensive cities in the world. Like I said, New York is expensive. We are all aware of it. We are all outraged by it, but it's not changing anytime soon. Doesn't mean you can't move here though. You can still make it. Finding a job here is all about strategy. I made a video on this about how to get a job in New York, so check that out if you haven't already, because it definitely gives you a lot of information. Finding a job in New York is just like finding a job elsewhere, except you have a little more flexibility here. It definitely is a place that puts more weight on who you know and what you can do. That definitely depends on the type of job you're looking for. If you're looking for a job as an analyst at a hedge fund, it's not going to really be about only who you know. It's definitely going to be about your education and any experience you have. Even then, don't knock it until you try it. New York is all about guts and hustle. When I first moved here, I worked as a waitress, I worked as a hostess, I almost worked in retail. Surprisingly, I didn't, but I did work for a fashion designer. Like, I had so many different colorful jobs, trying to find out like what I wanted to do, and also just trying to make money to survive in New York. It was never really hard for me to find a job any of the times I needed to find a job, except for when I first moved here. And that was mainly because I was using this strategy I used in North Carolina, where all they cared about was a resume and a cover letter, and that's all I could show them to show who I was and what I could do. In New York, you definitely have a little more flexibility. A couple of the jobs I got, I never even showed a resume. It was just me showing up and asking, and I just got the job. Just start somewhere, you know, you gotta start somewhere. There's tons of recruiters in New York as well. Again, watch my How to Get a Job in New York video, because I list the recruiter website and they are constantly helping people. If you're in New York or you're planning on moving to New York, you should definitely check it out. That would take care of one of the biggest concerns about moving to New York, like right off the bat. Lastly, I just want to talk about people. I don't know if this is the main concern for a lot of people, but it definitely was for me. Like I said, I'm from North Carolina, so it's not that diverse. It's not that unique. It's pretty traditional and conservative. It sucks, okay? It sucks. I don't like being the only one. There's a lot of times I was the only black girl, the only black person in general in like a class or in an area or in a store. It doesn't feel good to be like singled out. One of the most delicious things about New York is the diversity. People of all different races, cultures, colors, sizes, ages, genders, everything. It's a very liberal state, so people aren't as traditional, which to me is a blessing. People are really unique. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful to me. I love diversity. I love being around people who aren't just like me. That does not mean I like everyone here. You're gonna have a lot more interactions with people than you're used to. You just have to learn how to navigate it and use it in your advantage. For the most part here in New York, people like to stay in their own little bubble. I love it because it helps people mind their own business and stay in their own lane. In North Carolina, people were super chatty and always like being overly nice. It was kind of fake, but they were trying really hard to be overly nice. Here, people, if they are nice, it's because they really are nice. It's not because they're trying to pretend to be nice. Stay out of people's way, and people will stay out of your way. I'm not saying that people are like antisocial here. People are very social here, but it's also definitely a place where you can kind of keep to yourself if you want to and focus on what you're doing and why you decided to move here, if that's what you really want. Every neighborhood has their own different community. I live in Brooklyn, so it's a little more laid back. You'll figure out the one that you like the most when you move here and you get to know the city. When I first moved here, I lived in Harlem. And when I first moved here and I first went to Brooklyn, because I actually went to Williamsburg, Brooklyn, the first night I moved here to hang out with friends from middle school. I hung out in Brooklyn a couple more times after living here for a while, and I remember saying to myself, like, I love Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Like, I really want to live in Brooklyn. Like, it's very similar to like me and my personality. I ended up living here. Talk about secreting your life. Block out the noise, push through your fear, and have fun. It helps you believe and trust in yourself that you can do the things that you want to do in life. It's basically a mindset, you know? It's really just about your mindset. So for those of you that are thinking about moving to New York, even if you come from a small town, even if you don't have that much money, even if you don't really have a solid plan, don't let it stop you, especially if you're in your 20s. I moved here when I was 24, and it was the best decision and still is the best decision I've ever made in my life. Now it's catch up time for those of you that stuck around. So a couple reasons I've been MIA. At my corporate job, we just moved into a new office. It definitely has a lot of moving parts that go with that. The furniture, setting up vendors, making sure people are set up on their stations. I did a lot and it's exhausting, and it's been keeping me so busy to the point I haven't had any time to film or even think about filming. I was just like, you know what, my birthday is coming up in June. I should just take off my birthday month, which I had planned at the beginning of the year and completely forgot about. So I guess it worked out. Another thing, I have been in therapy. I have been doing therapy for a couple months now, and when I tell you guys, this is life-changing. Everybody needs therapy. Whether you had childhood trauma like myself, whether you had a great life and everything was great growing up. I think if everybody had therapy, meaning somebody that was unbiased, who didn't love them and didn't know them. I love the fact that me and my therapist aren't friends. I didn't know her before. She's not getting anything out of this except for me paying her. She's there to give me an unbiased opinion. It gives me so much clarity, and it helps me work through a lot of the problems that I've had and continue to have. So in the little free time I had, I was just focusing on that. I knew it was gonna help. Like, I sought out therapy so strongly. I knew it was going to change me and it was going to help, but the way that it's helping and the way that it's changing me, I didn't expect this. And it's so great. It's just so great. It's also very eye-opening about myself and about things and people that are in my life and that I've let in my life, just helping me kind of figure it out. Another thing, we've been trying to move and we still are trying to move. It looks like we're probably gonna move next year. We're not that liquid in our funds right now, meaning it's like tied up in investments and in savings. We still don't know where we're gonna live. Personally, if I could live in New York and have a penthouse by Central Park and have like the whole floor to myself, I would absolutely stay in New York, but I don't have a couple $1,000,000. It's hard because New York is it. It's where I want to be, but I also don't want to be in a small apartment anymore. 24-year-old Raquel loved it, but 31-year-old Raquel is kind of over it now, naturally. If I did not answer a question you had or a concern you had about moving to New York in this video, per usual, leave it in the comments below, because more than likely I just didn't think of it or forgot, who knows. But that's it. I don't have anything else to say. I'm so awkward when it comes to ending these, so I'm just gonna run away. Bye! Bye, guys.